This is not a regular season of the Real Housewives of Potomac. This isn't just organic shade or a routine feud. What we are witnessing is a calculated, coordinated production maneuver, a full-scale attempted takedown of a newcomer, Stacey Rusch, led by the show's strategic anchors, Gizelle, Bryant, and Darby. The promise I'm making to you today is simple, but revolutionary. By the end of this analysis, you will see the entire season as a strategic game board. We're going beyond the surface-level drama and exposing the methodology of this operation, the subtle cues the editing team left for us, and, most importantly, how Stacey is not just surviving the villain edit, but is actively and brilliantly winning the game by refusing to play the part they wrote for her. This is the truth behind the curtain of RHOP Season 10. The first undeniable clue that something structurally different is happening with Stacey's narrative, something that transcends typical housewife feuding, is the sheer disparity in focus and intensity surrounding her alleged inconsistencies. We are now 2 seasons into the claims made by TJ Jones, a peripheral figure whose accusations of a contractual relationship with Stacey are the foundation of this entire conflict. Let's pause and consider the strategic priorities of the long-standing OG players, Gizelle and Ashley, who have lived through and strategically navigated genuine, massive legal and personal scandals that directly impacted the cast's families. Look back at the history: Gizelle's highly scrutinized past with a powerful pastor, Ashley's tumultuous and legally complex relationship with her now ex-husband, or the countless financial and social disputes that have defined the show. Yet, in Season 10, the most aggressive, relentless, and personal line of questioning is reserved for Stacey's dating history and the validity of her divorce. The energy is disproportionate. The questions from Ashley, ostensibly a friend seeking clarity, are not inquiries, they are interrogations. Notice the recurring pattern. Ashley always seems to pose the first heavily loaded question, and Gizelle is strategically positioned to provide the narrative sting or the final petty blow. This partnership of Ashley's aggressive concern and Gizelle's passive-aggressive mean girl behavior is too seamless to be accidental. It functions as a classic good cop taught bad cop routine, all designed to achieve one objective: provoke an emotional explosion from Stacey. A genuine explosion creates the desired liar, explosive villain footage that validates their entire season-long theory. That's the first clue. The stakes don't match the pressure. Now we dive into the dossier, the evidence log of the coordinated strategic takedown. This is where we break down the intent, the execution, and the stunning failure of the OG's strategy. First, let's dissect the Gizelle gambit, the blank card incident. On the cast trip, Gizelle, as the host, provides personalized, embroidered gifts to every woman. Stacey's gift is deliberately unpersonalized, accompanied by a blank card. This wasn't a mistake. Look closely at the wide shot when the women enter the room and see the gifts. The camera lingers for an extra beat on Stacey's reaction, or lack thereof, to her anomalous offering. The editorial choice to include Gizelle's confessional explaining this as, "I don't know Stacey well enough to write a personal note," is the production-endorsed cover story. The real message, however, is a classic high school-level social shaming. You are an outsider. You are not one of us. You do not belong. Why is this a strategic move and not just typical pettiness? Because it is low risk, high reward. Gizelle gets to deliver a powerful, dismissive blow without ever raising her voice or saying anything that production cannot fully justify. She creates a moment of emotional alienation, forcing Stacey to either react with fury, validating the attack, or shrink into silence, validating the outside. Next, we analyze Ashley's hypocrisy. Questioning the timeline of the divorce and the reconciliation. Every time Stacey attempts to defend her timeline or her choices, the edit can be used to make her look like she's over-explaining, a classic technique to signal a lack of truth to the viewer. Watch the reaction shots from Gizelle and other OGs during these exchanges. They are consistently characterized by a smirk or a knowing glance. The music score used during these moments is key. It's never the light, shade-throwing music. It's the darker, investigative, and frankly, sinister soundtrack, alerting the viewer that this is a serious investigation of character. This audio cue is not accidental. It's the invisible narrator telling you who the villain is supposed to be. The crucial observation, and the heart of this entire analysis, is Stacey's game-winning defense. The OGs, and by extension the producers, are running the traditional housewife takedown playbook. Isolate the newcomer, relentlessly question their life, and wait for them to melt down. The footage they desperately need is Stacey losing control, screaming, crying, throwing a glass, or quitting the show. Stacey, however, is a veteran media personality who understands the assignment. She is refusing to give them the desired footage. Her response is a masterclass in controlled deflection and calm consistency. She offers polite, direct answers, but never overshares or gives them a new thread to pull. In the face of the blank card, she took the moment to herself, robbing Gizelle of the satisfaction of seeing her publicly defeated. When Ashley questions her marriage, Stacey is firm, but even-keeled. Look at the scene where the questions are at their peak intensity. Stacey's body language remains relatively open, and her tone stays measured. This lack of explosive reaction is the most frustrating outcome for both Gizelle, Ashley, and the editing team. The absence of the expected payoff, the tears and the shouting, is what is fundamentally disrupting their takedown narrative. Stacey's strategy is simply, deny them the golden villain footage. By remaining calm, she flips the narrative. The viewer, who sees the relentless, unwarranted attacks combined with Stacey's cool-headed response, does not register Stacey as the villain. They register Gizelle and Ashley as the bullies. This is how a strategic newcomer turns a villain edit into a hero edit. So, what does this coordinated strategy and Stacey's masterful defense mean for the rest of the Real Housewives of Potomac Season 10? The implication is profound. The true protagonist of this season is the editing room. The attempts by Gizelle and Ashley to paint Stacey as a fraud are failing, because the audience sees through the strategic nature of the attacks and is actively siding with the person being persecuted. This dynamic puts the production in a bind. They dedicated significant airtime to this investigation storyline, but Stacey's refusal to pop off means the footage they have is repetitive and, frankly, makes their long-term players look terrible. The editing team must now work overtime to try and salvage the narrative, perhaps by over-relying on confessionals that frame Stacey as shifty, or by selectively using her past footage. However, the audience is too sophisticated. We have the receipts, we understand the gameplay. Stacey has essentially disrupted the fundamental Housewives formula. She has proven that maintaining composure and consistency is the ultimate weapon against the OG interrogation strategy. The payoff is not Stacey's inevitable villainization, but the exposure of Gizelle and Ashley's predictable and now ineffective game. They were trying to manufacture a star. Instead, they successfully manufactured a fan favorite by demonstrating the calculated unfairness she has to endure. The rest of the season will now be a fascinating study in production trying to make something stick, while Stacey continues to passively aggressively win every strategic exchange. Her quiet dignity is their biggest threat.